Men, we conquered continents, built civilizations and walked on the moon, and yet we still can't talk about our feelings. This is Pipeside Chats with Charles Jota Fenix. Hello, you're watching Pipeside Chats. Thank you for joining me for this episode, all about fear. Let me ask you one question to get started. As a man, how often have you used the phrase, "I'm not afraid of anything"? And let me ask you another question. How often have you actually believed yourself? Because fear is so different for so many of us. It's so intangible, and yet it dictates a lot of our lives as men. It dictates a lot of what we do as men. We're all afraid of something. We're afraid of losing our wives or girlfriends. We're afraid of not being good enough. We're afraid that we're perhaps just one faulty Gillette razor away from accidental castration. We're afraid of funny things, and we're afraid of real things. Let's go back a little bit in time. What is fear? Where did it start from? From an evolutionary perspective, fear has always been a good thing. It helped us escape the lions and the predators that were around when we were cavemen. It helped us to ensure that we could provide enough food for our families and larger tribes. But here's the million-dollar question. Did fear become useless? Or rather, did fear get corrupted somewhere along the way? Because while as men, we reject this idea that we're actually afraid of anything, the truth is we're afraid of almost everything. We put so much pressure on ourselves as humans, but particularly as men, that we just can't fail. That if our relationship fails, you as a man have failed. That if you lose your job and you can't provide, that you as a man have failed. And I think a lot of that comes from when we were younger. You know, we're brought up to believe that fear is a bad thing, and that fear controls us, and that fear not guides us, but that fear almost devours our entire psyche and dictates how we act. And something happened for me not too long ago. I'm 33. And one thing I want to get out there is not everybody's going to love this podcast, and that's fine. I don't mind. But for the ones that do love it, and the ones that do feel connected and think, you know what, this is a bit of a laugh, but it's also got some important things in it. It's speaking to men, and potentially speaking to the partners of men who feel that they might get something from the podcast. But what's the reason that I am the right guide for you? Well, simply because I am an ordinary man. Sure, I'm creative. I have good ideas in terms of writing and fiction and the podcast. I've been in bands and all that kind of stuff. But underneath, I'm a man, a modern man with modern issues, with historical issues of low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, kinks and fetish shaming, body issues, pride issues, everything. And what I want from this podcast is that you realize you're not alone out there. You don't have to act like a dick because you feel like you're alone. We'll go through things in later episodes that will discuss the archetypes that you can act as. But first and foremost, I'm the right person to guide you here because I've been through it. And look, something happened for me recently as a 33-year-old man. And I started to realize I have to make changes in my life. And I have to stop letting fear dictate how I live. But the key to that then is that you start using fear as the fuel. Because for all intents and purposes, fear is just a preamble. It's a prelude to ambition. And as soon as I started to think that way, and as soon as I started to think, I'm going to take control of the fear and I'm going to make something from it, that's when life began to change. Here's a couple of examples. One, you are going to fail, and it's fine. Your body and your mind and your psyche and possibly the knobs around you are going to tell you you should be scared of failing, but you shouldn't be. Failing is good. When you were a baby or a toddler and you learned to walk, you fell and you got up and you fell and you got up and you fell and you got up and you tried and tried and tried until you mastered walking. Although I've seen some of you when you've been drinking, might still want to practice that a little bit. But you didn't stop fear from letting you achieve your ambulatory status. In jobs, when we seek promotion, at some point, even if you've been super lucky and you went into a job at 18 or 21 or 16 or whenever it was, and you went up and up and up and up and up and suddenly you're the CEO, at some point, you will fail. You will not get that promotion. And that is fine. Because all it means is that you're being prepared for the next step in your life. You've got to let the fear light the fire underneath you, not the other way around. You're not falling into the fire. You're using the fire as a fuel. Take that into consideration. You don't need to be afraid. You need to accept the fear, live with it, and use it as a fuel. And I promise you that you will come out of the other side better, stronger, and fiercer. I'll give you just a couple of anecdotes from me. I used to hate going to the gym because I was fearful, scared, I guess, that all the other guys are going to look at skinny old me and laugh at my body, and I'm going to be subjected to that. But once I started going and improving, I'm not huge by any means, but I'm happy now with the body I'm developing. Immediately I feel better. I've struggled with sex before, particularly in getting, well, more like maintaining, erections. And I was always terrified of investigating it because, oh my God, what if there's something wrong with me and that makes me not a man? But the truth is, 1 in 4 guys are documented as having some form of ED. And studies show that if we include people who are not, who do not want to be acknowledging it, it's probably closer to 1 in 2. So in any room where you're with 10 guys, 5 of them, statistically, will have been having ED at some point in their lives. And now that I've accepted it and I've been to the doctor and I'm on medication for it, it's great. I'm having the opposite. It's good. It's stronger. It's fiercer. It's more durable, you know. But I had to use that fear to drive me to say, I want to make that change. Now I'm lucky that I have a strong woman behind me as well. And I know that not all guys do. Some of you might be gay watching this, or bi, or whatever, and that's absolutely fine. You might have a strong guy behind you. You might just be your own person, your own man. That's also fine. But the fear is no longer the thing that you need to listen to. It's the thing that you need to use as fuel. I also was very reluctant to get braces because I was worried about how it might make me look, particularly as a 33-year-old man, how it might make me look juvenile and a bit silly, and maybe it would make my voice sound different. With the exception of a little bit of discomfort, I feel so much better. I'm happy to smile in pictures now. I used the fear. It lit the fuel underneath me. I was really, really fearful of going bald because I know the stigma attached to being bald. But the truth is, again, studies, 30% of women prefer bald men. Which is, it doesn't sound like a huge statistic, but 30% of all women surveyed, and I think that was a survey of millions. I'm happy to, I'll get the statistic and I'll put it up for you to see, the study. Yeah, that's a lot of women that prefer bald men. And if you're not bald, whatever, it doesn't matter. There will be something about you that you don't like and that you are fearful to change. Now is the time to use that fear as fuel. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to have a look at a letter sent in to me about fear. This is a segment that I call Letters from the Modern Man. This is a segment that I call Letters from the Modern Man. Today's letter comes from Gerald, 38, from Wolverhampton. And he says, Dear Pipeside Chats, I want to start by saying that I am not, as a rule, a fearful man. I have read Marcus Aurelius. I own a cast iron skillet. I once parallel parked on the first attempt in front of witnesses. And yet, last Tuesday I spent 47 minutes on hold with my energy provider, was told my account didn't exist, and then cried in the bathroom for reasons I'm still not entirely comfortable examining. The thing is, I'm not afraid of anything substantial. War, famine, existential meaninglessness. I've made my peace with all of it. What I cannot seem to conquer is the small stuff. Answering phone calls from unknown numbers, asking waiters to correct my order, starting conversations with, actually, I think there's been a mistake. My therapist calls this conflict avoidance. I prefer to think of it as strategic patience, but I'll concede the distinction is becoming increasingly difficult to defend. My question is this: at what point does a man's fear of minor inconvenience become a personality? And more importantly, is there a way to fix it that doesn't involve talking to anyone about it? Asking for a friend who is definitely not me, Gerald, 38, from Wolverhampton. Well, Gerald, aside from your obvious Oedipus complex, we can delve into this a little bit, yeah? Now, I'm sure some of you would have been listening to that and going, oh my God, I also don't send back orders when the food is wrong. Yeah. I'm sure some of you are listening to that and going, oh my God, I don't answer unknown phone calls either. Or I avoid difficult conversations. This is a male thing. This is a masculine inability to accept that fear should not be the controller, but should be the controlled. For Gerald's friend, I would suggest that you feel that fear and do it anyway. There's a difference between sucking it up and getting on with it and conquering fear in a way that's useful for us. Guys, it's time. Light the fire under yourselves using that fear. You can do it. You can do it. So I'm going to leave you with this final closing thought. Fear is your friend. It's not your enemy. It is the prelude to your ambitions. Anything that you want to do in life that has risk, that is potentially dangerous and threatening, the fear will be there. But it's time for you to take that step and become the man you want to be. And more importantly, the man that you, your partner, your family, your friends, and the world deserves. It's time to conquer fear and make it your fuel. I appreciate you joining me. I've been and continue to be Charles Jota Fenix, and I look forward to seeing you next time on episode 2, when we will chat about shame. Have a good evening.